Okay, now we're gonna work two more hard examples of solving for x. So we're gonna work this example first, and then we're gonna do a pretty hard one next. So, like I mentioned earlier, the first thing that you have to do is to expand all of your multiplications. So, in the previous video, we didn't have any of those to expand, but now we have this multiplication right here. So our first step is going to be to distribute this 2 to both of these terms right here. So doing that, we're going to get 2x plus 8 equals 5x minus 12. So now we want to get all of our x terms on one side of the equal sign and all of our non-x terms on the other. So I guess the first thing I'll do is subtract this 5x from both sides of the equation. So we're going to get 2x minus 5x plus 8 equals negative 12. So the only thing that's really changing here is the 5 is moving over to the other side. And you could put this minus 5x anywhere. So if you wanted to, you can write minus 5x plus 2x plus 8 equals negative 12. If you wanted to write something like this, you could. With the order of operations, it doesn't matter where in the equation this negative 5x goes, as long as if you subtract it from both sides of this equation here, it ends up on the other side of the equal sign. So we have all of our x's on the same side right here, but we have a non-x term over here still. So I'm going to subtract that 8 from both sides also. So we have 2x minus 5x equals negative 12 minus 8. So now we're looking pretty good. We have all of our x terms on one side, all of our non-x terms on the other. So I'm going to combine this. 2x minus 5 gives us negative 3x, and that's equal to negative 20. Our last step is to divide both sides of the equation by negative 3. So we're just left with x equals positive 20/3. And that's going to be our solution for this one. So this next example is a little more difficult, and mainly because of this r term. So whenever you have an equation with two variables and you're solving for one of them, the problem is always going to specify which variable that you have to solve for. So here in the instructions it says solve for x. So I'm just going to follow the steps. I'm going to expand this multiplication here, and then I'm going to just get all of my terms that have an x on one side of the equal sign, and then all of the other terms on the other. So if we do that, this x is going to distribute to both of these terms here. So we have 2x plus 5r equals x times r, and then plus x times 1, which is just x. And then I want to get all my x's on one side of the equation, so I'll subtract this 2x. So we have 5r equals xr plus x, and then we subtracted our 2x. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and just combine these two terms here. Now, notice that we have an x times an r. So these these two terms can be combined fine, but since we have this x times r, we're going to have to do something special to it. So 5r equals x times r, and then combining these we get minus x. Now, in order to get x all by itself, we're going to have to somehow remove it from this r. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out an x from this side of the equation. So what that's going to look like is this, r minus 1, and then we have an x on the outside. So if this is your first time seeing this, it might be a little bit confusing, but I'll try to explain. I'm going to write up here, and I'm going to say r minus 1 with the x outside. So this is what we have down here. Now if we distribute this x back into this parentheses here, we end up with xr minus x. And xr minus x is what we have right here. So pretty much what we did was we just took an x outside of this equation just to get it over by itself. And the reason why we did that is so that we can, I'm going to rewrite this down here just so that it's a little bit cleaner. The reason why we did that is so that we can divide by r minus 1 and get x all by itself. So we're going to divide by r minus 1 here, and we're also going to divide by r minus 1 over here. So just like in earlier examples, when our last step is to so here we had negative 3x, and we divided by negative 3. We did this just so that these terms here canceled, and then we end up with x by itself. So it's the same concept over here, only we're dividing by something minus something, r minus 1, rather than just a single number. But the result is the same. We still end up with just x by itself, and then x is equal to 5r over r minus 1. So that's going to be our answer to that one. I think that this example here is probably about as hard as it gets for solving linear equations. So maybe spend some time looking at this example, and I think if you can do this one, you should be able to do anything else.